I am Dr. B.K. Deshpande, Associate Professor, Department of CSC, Cambridge Institute of Technology, KR-Puram, Bengaluru. Today's topic is SJF, Shortage of First CPU Scheduling Algorithm. It is also called as SRTF. It is Shortest Job Remaining Time First CPU Scheduling Algorithm. CPU is going to analyze which job or process is going to take less time to execute. So that particular job is going to be scheduled. Okay, it is going to compare with all other processes which are in the ready queue. In that, the CPU or processor is going to analyze which process is going to take less burst time or CPU time to execute. So that is the objective of the SJF or SRTF algorithm. Mode is preemptive. What does it mean? When process is being executed by the processor, it can be taken out for the other process, because other process is going to take less time when compared to the process which is being executed by the processor earlier. So again the CPU is going to analyze it. Okay, preemptive is nothing but the process can be taken out for the other process, okay, for the execution, for the want of less time that particular is going to take. Now consider the table. The table, in the first column process number is mentioned, second column arrival time is mentioned, third column burst time is mentioned, and RT stands for remaining time. Okay, this is the problem which is given as far as this table is concerned. Now what is the first step? We need to follow it. So these are the given data, first column, second column and third column, that is process number, arrival time and burst time is the given time. What may be asked in the question? The question may be asked is find out average waiting time and average turnaround time of the processes. Let us start with first P1 process. Its arrival time is 0 and burst time is 8. Now arrival time is 0 seconds. So according to the Gantt chart, we are supposed to schedule the process. P1, its arrival time is 0, P1 is scheduled. Okay, CPU what it does basically, it is going to analyze it. Since the burst time of the P1 is 8 seconds, right? Compared to other process, burst time is more. So again, in the second row, P2's arrival time is 1 second. What the CPU is going to do is, it is going to schedule that particular process P1 for only 1 second. 1 second. That means out of 8 burst time of the P1, 8 minus 1 is 7 seconds is the remaining time. Okay, 7 seconds is the remaining time. That means P1 is scheduled for only 1 second, because CPU is going to analyze, because at the P2 process, arrival time of the P2 process is 1 second, because it is going to arrive at 1 second. Okay, the moment like an the P1 is only partially scheduled, partially executed, right? Still like it has to cover for 7 more seconds. But when it comes to arrival time of the P2, it arrives at 1 second. So that 1 second of the arrival time and the burst time is 1 second. So that the P2 can be scheduled in the Gantt chart. Gantt chart is basically a horizontal chart. It is going to represent how the process is going to be scheduled as far as processor is concerned. So arrival time is 1 of the P2 and burst time is 1, that is CPU time also we can call it. So it is going to be executed. That means 1 plus 1 because only P1 got scheduled for only 1 second, partially scheduled, partially executed. That means 1 plus 1 equal to 2 in the Gantt chart. So that P2 is scheduled at the second location of the Gantt chart from left to right. That means remaining time becomes 0 because anyway as soon as the P2 is going to complete its execution, it will not have any burst time, it will not have any remaining time rather. Next P3 is going to come at 2 seconds. Okay, 2 seconds. Arrival time is 2 seconds of the P3. That means again it is going to compare 2 seconds. Its burst time is 3 seconds. Correct? Burst time is 3 seconds of the P3. That means what is going to happen is again arrival time of the P4, CPU is going to analyze for the other processes also simultaneously. P3 and P4 is going to be analyzed. That means P2 is going to be scheduled. That means P3 is going to be scheduled for only 1 second, partially executed. That means 1 second, right? That means 3 minus 1 is 2 is the remaining time. Okay, 2 is remaining time. That means what is going to happen is at the P4 arrives at 3 seconds, correct? P4 arrives at 3 seconds, but its burst time is 2 seconds. As far as comparison is concerned between P3's remaining time and P4's burst time, okay, remaining time is nothing but like a burst time, okay, which is remaining, right? So that here what is going to happen, 2 is the remaining time of the P3 and P4's burst time is also 2 seconds. That means what is going to happen, both burst time are same, okay, burst time of the P3 and P4 are same. What is going to happen, CPU again gives the prominence to the P3 process because it has come first, okay, it has come first, it is in the queue in the first position. That means what, priority should be given to the P3, right? Because since the burst time of the two processes are same, so that earlier P3 was only partially executed for 1 second. That means what, remaining 2 seconds was there, okay? That means the 2 is going to be added. 3 plus 2 is going to be 5. That means what, P3 is going to complete its execution. That means in the remaining time column, 0 indicates that it got completed, okay? That means 3 plus 2 equal to 5. P3 got executed. Now P4's anyway the burst time is 2. It is going to compare with P5 again. CPU is going to compare with P5. That means what, anyway burst time of the P5 is more. Again P1's burst time is remaining 7, that is also more. That means what, CPU is going to analyze and takes the decision that P2 should be scheduled in the Gantt chart, okay? P4, that means what, it is going to 5 plus 2 is 7, correct? 5 plus 2 is 7. That means what? The P4 is also scheduled. Correct? Okay. Next, again P5. P5 arrival time is at 4 seconds and burst time is 6 seconds. So that when it compares to P1's process, its remaining time is 7. That means what? As far as shortest job first or shortest job remaining time first CPU scheduling algorithm is concerned, CPU is going to give the prominence to the shortest job, so that this job is going to complete in the less time compared to P1, which is required 7 remaining time. That means what? P5 is going to be scheduled here. That means 7 plus 6 is how much? 7 plus 6 of the burst time of the P5. 7 is basically P4 which is completed. That means 7 plus 6 is 13. Right? So finally, which process is remaining? Only P1 is remaining, which needs to be completed with remaining time of 7. That means what? 13 plus 7. 7 is the remaining time of the P1. 13 plus 7 is 20. This is how all processes got scheduled in the Gantt chart. Okay, this is how RT is formed. Okay, RT stands for remaining time. Now CT, how to find the CT? CT is nothing but completion time of the each process. P1, take the first process P1, where it is completed. You can't say that it is completed at 7 seconds, because P1 you can come here. P1 it got completed at the last 20th second, right? 20th second, 20 seconds. Okay. Next one is P2. P2, where it is completed? P2 is completed in the Gantt chart 2 seconds. Okay. Now you have to mention 2 seconds. P3. P3, where it is completed? P3 is completed at 3 seconds in the Gantt chart. Okay. No, P3 is not completed. P3 is completed here 5 seconds. Correct? 5 seconds completion time. Next P4. P4 is completed here, right? P4 is completed here. That means what? At 7 seconds in the Gantt chart. That means you have to mention in the CT column as 7 corresponding with the P4. Next P5. P5 which completes at 13 seconds from the Gantt chart. Correct? P5 is completed at 13 seconds. This is how you have to mention all the CTs, that is completion time of the individual processes. Now how to find the turnaround time? Turnaround time is to be found out by this formula, CT minus AT, that is completion time minus arrival time. Completion time of the P1 is 20, arrival time is 0 of the P1. 20 minus 0 is 20. Next P2, 2 minus 1 is 1. Next P3, 5 minus 2 is 3. Next P4, 7 minus 3 is 4. Next P5, 13 minus 4 is 9. Okay, this is how we have to find out the turnaround time. Next, waiting time. Waiting time is to be found out by this formula, turnaround time minus burst time of the individual process. Turnaround time of the P1 is 20. Burst time is how much? Burst time is 20 minus 8. Okay, of the P1. Burst time of the P1 is 8. 20 minus 8 is 12. Next, 1 minus 1 of the P2, that is 1 is the turnaround time. Next, 1 is the burst time. 1 minus 1 is 0. Next, turnaround time of the P3 is 3 and the burst time is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. Next, P4, turnaround time of the P4 is 4. 4 minus 2, that's 2 is the burst time of the P4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Next, P5, turnaround time of the P5 is 9. Okay, burst time is 6. 9 minus 6, that 6 is the burst time of the P5. 9 minus 6 is 3. So that this is how we found out waiting time of the each process. Now what is the question? Find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time of the processes. Average waiting time should be found out by adding individual waiting time of the processes. That means what? 12 plus 0 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3. Okay, in this way. Divided by 5. 5 is the number of process. It comes around 17. 17 divided by number of processes is 5. It comes around 3.5 units or second. So average turnaround time should be found out by adding all the turnaround time of the each process. 20 plus 1. 20 is the turnaround time of the P1. Like that, P2 is 1, P3 is 3, and P4 is 4, and P5 is 9. That means what? 20 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 9 divided by number of processes. Number of processes 5. That means it comes around 37. 37 divided by 5 equal to 7.4 seconds or units. So this is how we have to understand the shortage of first CPU scheduling algorithm, and the mode is preemptive. Okay, I hope you understood the SJF CPU scheduling algorithm.